Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. A reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, Text 33, Purusha Shukta confirmed. Iti te vihitam kata yatedam anupichasim nanyad bhagavata kinchid bhavyam asad asad atmakam iti vihitam tata yatedam anupichati nanyad bhagavata kinchid bhavyam sad asad atmakam iti te vihitam tata yatadam anupichasi nanyad bhagavata kinchid bhavyam sad asadatmakam iti te vihitam tata yatadam anupichasi nanyad bhagavata kinchid bhavyam sada sadatmakam. Please chant, whoever would like to.
Iti te vihitam data
Iti te vihitam data
yatedham hanuprishchasi
yatedam anuprichasi
nanyad bhagavata kinchid
nanyad bhagavata kinchid
bhavyam sadasadatmakam.
bhavyam sada sadatmakam.
Tite Bihitang Tata
Tite vihitam tata.
Yate Dhammanuprichasi
Tite vichasi.
Nanyat Bhagavata Kinchit
Yat bhagavatam kinche.
Bhavyang Sata Satatmakam
Sat atman atmakam.
Tite Vihitam Tata
Tite vihitam tata.
Yadhedam Anuprichasi
Yatetam manuvichasi.
Nanyat Bhagavata Kinchin
Nanya bhagavata kinche.
Bhavyam Sarasadatmakam
Avyam saracharatmakam.
Itite vihitam tata
Tite vihitam tata.
radam anuprichyasi
Yatitam manuvichasi.
nanyad bhagavata kinchid
Bhagavata kinche.
bhavyam sarasat atmaka.
Avyam saracharatmakam. Iti thus te unto you. Abhihitam explained. Tata, my dear son. Yata as. Idam, all these. Anuprichasi, as you have inquired. Na, never. Anyat, anything else. Bhagavataha, beyond the personality of Godhead. Njit, nothing. Bhavyam, to be thought ever. Sat, cause. Asat, effect. Atmakam, in the matter of. Translation and purport given by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear son, whatever you inquired from me, I have thus explained unto you, and you must know for certain that whatever there is, either as cause or effect, both in the material and spiritual worlds, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport: the complete cosmic situation, both in the material and in the spiritual manifestations of the energies of the Lord, is working and moving first as the cause and then as the effect. But the original cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Effects of the original cause become the causes of other effects, and thus everything, either permanent or temporary, is working as cause and effect. And because the Lord is the primeval cause of all persons and all energies, He is the cause, excuse me, He is called the cause of all causes, and is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, as well as in the Bhagavad Gita. The Brahma Samhita 5.1 affirms, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. And in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, it is said, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. So the original primeval cause is vigraha, the personal and the impersonal spiritual effulgence. Brahmajyoti is also an effect of the Supreme Brahman. Brahmano hi patitastam, Lord Krishna. Om Jnana Tarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, translation again. My dear son, whatever you inquired from me, I have thus explained unto you, and you must know for certain that whatever there is, either cause or as effect, both in the material and spiritual world, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it seems this Purusha Shukta confirmed chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam is really stressing the dependence on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narada Muni, he has inquired from Lord Brahma about the background of the whole situation, and he's wondering if there is any superior entity that is, superior to Lord Brahma. So Narada Muni is humbly inquiring this from his spiritual master. And Lord Brahma, he's answering the question for his disciple, giving confidence to Narada Muni that whatever I have explained to you, you can trust that because it's unchanged and it's emanating from the original person. So that's the most important thing about our philosophy, I would say, in relation to other philosophies, is that it is one, emanating from the Supreme Person, and two, it is unchanged in the succession that it was passed down through. So this is very crucial and critical, because if the teachers are changing the information that's being taught over the years, then the information becomes lost. And when the information becomes lost, well, nobody else can implement that way of life, and nobody else is qualified anymore to teach it. And this changing of the information given from the cause of all causes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the cause for this changing in other successions or traditions is what we could call organized lust. Because the person, he simply he reads the information, he may receive it purely from a very pure source, but over time he manipulates and interprets, to fit his own way of life and his own lusty propensities and tendencies. So the tendency has always been to change the Supreme Personality of Godhead's word as it was intended to be, and interpret it to tailor to our life that is filled with sense gratification and life of Kali Yuga. So this is not really appropriate to be doing, and this is what the world's philosophies and religions and science and pretty much everything else gets into. It's just tailoring it to fit the needs of the society or that person in general. So the problem with this is you can't accept. You can see the chicken and you can say that it's going to lay an egg every day if I feed it, but it's expensive to feed the chicken. Therefore, I'll just cut off its head, not feed it anymore, and then I'll get my egg. This is what a lot of society is busy doing. The headless chicken philosophy, they're busy accepting and rejecting different philosophies and religions and tailoring it to their life. But the problem with this is the chicken, it actually doesn't function when it doesn't have a head and when it's not being fed properly. If you cut the chicken's head off, it no longer lays an egg. So you don't actually get the benefit of following the process once you change it and manipulate it to fit your lifestyle. So the original person has given us this perfect philosophy. He imparted it down to man. He imparted it to Lord Brahma to Narada Muni, etc., down to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's disciples, and they imparted it unto us. And that's without change. They're not changing the principles that are given from the acharyas. And that's something that's pretty significant here in this philosophy versus others. So this is another verse just confirming that everything is emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We hear this all over the Vedic literature. You pretty much can't go without reading a page or two of Prabhupada's books and hearing that everything emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I hope everyone can understand that. So Lord Brahma, he's actually painting a picture for Narada Muni. So the less intelligent people who are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam can understand this philosophy, because, we have to remember nothing was even recorded up until about 5,000 years ago. And it's only due to our unintelligence that things are even written down. So we can understand that the author of these such great literatures, he understood that the person who was reading it was a lot less intelligent than, the class of man that was there that time, or the class that was before. So realizing that Krishna is the supreme cause of all causes and he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very important, because we need to realize that we have to be grateful. We can't just go about taking things for granted. And if you go about, even those who address the spiritual energy of the Lord, or like the impersonalists, they can go about addressing the energy of the Lord, but if they're not attributing gratitude and thanks to the person who provided that energy for them and provided that material situation, spiritual situation, provided the senses and everything in relation, if the person is not giving thanks to the person who has provided all of these things, he will remain on an impersonal platform in his relation with the Supreme Person or his understanding of God. Because he's not giving any gratitude, he doesn't believe there's a personality behind it, so he doesn't think that there's any gratitude needed or needed to give. So this is something that we should look out for. We should try to be grateful in our situation, whatever that be, and give gratitude to Krishna. And what's a better way to do that but to serve him and to offer him praise and worship and thanks, and come to the programs and try to be enthusiastic. What a better way to show gratitude than that? to the Supreme Person. Does anyone have any comments or questions so far? Or any thoughts?
In the purport, Prabhupada, he mentions this Sarvasya Prabhu shloka from the Bhagavad Gita. And we just read that a couple days ago in the Bhagavad Gita class. And in that purport, Srila Prabhupada, he essentially compiles, many different statements from all around the Vedic literatures, different Upanishads and different places, stating this fact that you mentioned, that every couple pages you read says everything emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's a nice purport to have, more resources for, the different sources of the Vedas that's presenting this. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Chai, maybe I can read it. Bhagavad Gita 10.8. Sarvasya Prabhavo Nata Sarvam Pravartate Iti Matva Bhajante Ma Bhudha Bhava Samanvitaha. Translation: I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Purport: a learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya, and who know how to apply these teachings, can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or fools. All Vedic literatures agree that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Atharva Veda, Gopala Tapani Upanishad 124, it is said, Yo Brahmanam Vedantati Purvam Yo Vai Vedams Cha Goyati Sam Krishna. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge into the past. Then again, Narayana Upanishad 1 says, Ata Parusho Avai Narayano Kamayata Praja Srijati. Then the Supreme Personality, Narayan, desired to create living entities. The Upanishad continues, Narayanayad Brahmajayate Narayanad Prajapati Prajayate Narayanad Indro Jayate Narayanad Aso Vasu Jayate Narayanad Akadasa Ruja Jayate Narayanad Dwadashita Tityaha. From Narayan, Brahma is born, and from Narayan, the patriarchs are also born. From Narayan, Indra is born. From Narayan, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayan, the 11 Rudras are born. From Narayan, the 12 Adityas are born. This Narayan is an expansion of Krishna. It is said in the same Vedas, Brahmanayo Devaki Putra. The son of Devaki, Krishna, is the Supreme Personality. Narayana Upanishad 4. Then it is said, Eko vai Narayana asin, na Brahma, na Santo, na Po, na Agni Somato, na me dvai var pripitayi, na nakashanti na suyaha. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality Narayan. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no water, no fire, no moon, no heaven and earth, no stars in the sky, no sun. Maha Upanishad 1-2. In the Maha Upanishad, it is also said that Lord Shiva was born from the forehead of the Supreme Lord. Thus the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped. In the Moksha Dharma section of the Mahabharata, Krishna also says, Prajapitam charujam japi aham eva sujam yavai. To himam na vijani to amamayi vimohato. The patriarchs, Shiva, and others are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me, because they are deluded by my illusory energy. In the Vraha Purana, it is also said, Narayana palo devas, tasmas jatas chatur mukaha, tasmad rudo bhava deva, sacha sarva jatam gatava. Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born. Lord Krishna is the source of all generations, and he is the cause, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says, because everything is born of me, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me, no one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way from a bona fide spiritual master, with reference from Vedic literature, engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are but fools. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad Gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness. So, yes, the point when you're not recognizing this fact that everything is coming from God is you become ungrateful, and the impersonalistic tendencies continue to develop and rise and be there. The problem is people who are in this mindset, they don't realize that any happiness or any endeavor that's achieved in this life, anything that's accomplished, is completely futile without offering that achievement or endeavor back to God. You don't really get much out of it. Even somebody can really like what they do in the material world. They could be a mechanic and really love cars and get to work on different cars every day and learn new stuff all the time and make money and, live a life that they feel comfortable. They get whatever regulated sense gratification they would like. Even then, they can work their whole life, but what do they get after they die? What did they spend their life doing? Working and for money and material comforts and sense gratification. So this is very temporary and fleeting. And because they're not offering it to Krishna, it's worthless. Their endeavor, it's completely futile. Everyone's trying to get some kind of energy or some kind of benefit from something that they're doing. Everyone is even trying to hoard it away and conserve that energy for themselves, or deprive others of getting that energy. Do whatever I can do to, attain this. This is the standard of the material world. There's such a dependence on material nature when somebody doesn't declare dependence on Krishna, and then they're just reliant on the material nature to bring them what they need. What the problem is material nature doesn't really do that. It's not a place for enjoyment. And the soul is constitutionally blissful and full of knowledge, and it wants to enjoy. So if we're seeking that enjoyment in the material nature, it doesn't work out. And we've all realized that to different degrees. It's like everyone's looking for these different elements, whether it's coal or cobalt or lithium or whatever it may be. But all these things, there's a limited supply of it. And in order to get these things, there's some exchange that's needed to be done. So very futile. We should not have trust in material energy, because it just brings more despair. Because this is the most distressed condition, trying to find enjoyment in material energy. It's in fact said it's considered to be the most distressed condition to try to do this after reading the Vedas and learning the highest form of living. It's said that somebody who feels they need to seek enjoyment in the material energy after acquiring knowledge of such is in the most distressed situation. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he's introduced a society of simple living and high thinking, so people can become satisfied in life and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead and be peaceful and content. Because you can't be content if you're relying on something that's temporary and futile, like material energy. But if you're relying on Krishna, which is eternal and he's full of knowledge and bliss, it's our original constitutional position to serve him. So when we come to this lifestyle, it's a much more fortunate position, and we should be grateful for that. Are there any more questions or comments on the verse today? Okay. Thank you for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Vanshakapatubhischa kipasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.